Good afternoon. Welcome to Kenya News Update today. I'm your host, and we're diving deep into a story that's shaking the global sports and media landscape, with direct implications for talent representation, private equity, and corporate reputation. The headline, Providence Equity, is fully committed to supporting the Wasserman agency amid a sudden and shocking sale transition. This isn't just a business story. It's a crisis management case study unfolding in real time, triggered by the darkest of associations. We'll unpack what happened, analyze the numbers behind the empire, debate the future of the agency, and examine the broader lessons for Kenya's own growing sports and entertainment sector. This is a 12-minute deep dive. Our story begins late last Friday night, February 13th, with a shock announcement that reverberated from Los Angeles to London. The Wasserman Agency, one of the world's premier talent and sports marketing firms, was being put up for sale. Even more stunning was the simultaneous news that its founder and chairman, the 50-year-old Casey Wasserman, would be stepping away from the company that bears his name. This wasn't a planned retirement or a strategic pivot. This was an emergency exit, forced into the open by a single, devastating source, the unsealed Jeffrey Epstein client and flight logs released by the U.S. Department of Justice. According to the documents, Casey Wasserman had what is described as an intimate relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell back in 2003. That's 17 years before Maxwell's conviction for sex trafficking and 23 years ago. The documents reportedly detail multiple interactions. For context, in 2003, Wasserman was 27 years old and already a rising star, having taken over the family's sports and philanthropy legacy. Ghislaine Maxwell, then 41, was a prominent socialite, the daughter of media mogul Robert Maxwell, and as we now know, Epstein's chief procurer. The revelation is catastrophic for Wasserman's personal brand, which is inextricably linked to his professional one. He is not accused of any crime, but in the court of public opinion and corporate boardrooms, association with the Epstein-Maxwell orbit is often a terminal verdict. This is where Providence Equity comes in. They are the majority owner, having acquired a controlling 70% stake in the Wasserman Agency back in 2021 for a reported $2.3 billion. That investment valued the entire agency at approximately $3.3 billion. Providence, a heavyweight in media and communications, private equity, now faces a monumental challenge, stabilizing a portfolio company whose value is directly tied to the reputation of its now toxic founder. Their statement, declaring they are fully committed to supporting the agency's leadership team and employees during this transition, is a classic piece of crisis PR, but what does fully committed actually mean when you're staring down a forced sale? Let's look at the empire they're trying to save. The Wasserman Agency is a behemoth. It represents over 1,500 athletes, coaches, and broadcasters globally. Their client roster in basketball alone, a core strength, includes more than 120 NBA players and 35 NBA coaches. In football or soccer, they represent over 350 players worldwide. The agency also has a massive music and entertainment division. Their annual revenue, according to industry estimates, surpasses $400 million. They employ over 1,200 people across 25 offices in cities like Los Angeles, New York, London, and Madrid. This is not a small business, it's a global institution. The potential financial fallout from client defections and sponsor nervousness is immense. Let's visualize the scale of this operation. The agency's athlete representation spans major global sports. In the NBA, they have 120 players under contract. In international football, they represent 350 players. In baseball, MLB, they have 85 clients. And in American football, the NFL, they represent 90 players. This diverse portfolio was once a strength. Now it's a complex web of relationships that must be reassured. So the immediate question, why a sale? Why not just remove Wasserman and carry on? The answer lies in the inextricable link between the man and the brand. Wasserman is on the door. He is the face to countless clients, the architect of its culture, and its primary rainmaker. His sudden association with Maxwell creates an untenable situation for client retention and new business. Major corporate sponsors, who pay millions for athlete endorsements, are notoriously risk-averse. A sponsor evaluating a $10 million deal with a Wasserman-represented athlete must now weigh the reputational contagion. Providence's calculus is likely that a clean break, a sale to a new owner who can rebrand and reset the narrative, is the only way to salvage the underlying business's value. They need to surgically remove the Wasserman name from the Wasserman assets. But who would buy it? And at what price? The 2021 valuation of $3.3 billion is almost certainly off the table. We're looking at a fire sale, or at best, a distressed asset sale. Potential suitors could include other large private equity firms, rival agencies looking to buy scale, or even a strategic buyer from the media world. However, any buyer will demand a significant discount for the reputational baggage and the uncertainty of client retention. Industry analysts we spoke to suggest the sale price could be discounted by 20 to 30%, potentially knocking $750 million to $1 billion off the peak valuation. Providence, which invested $2.3 billion, faces the very real prospect of a loss on its 3-year-old investment. Let's examine the potential financial impact. Looking at the valuation trajectory, the estimated enterprise value at the Providence buy-in 2021 was $3.3 billion. A conservative current valuation, factoring in reputational risk, might be $2.5 billion. That represents a potential loss in enterprise value of $800 million. For Providence's 70% stake, their $2.3 billion investment could now be worth approximately $1.75 billion, a paper loss of $550 million. This doesn't account for the operational costs of the crisis and the sale process itself. Now, let's debate the perspectives. On one side, you have the crisis management view. Providence is doing the only responsible thing. By swiftly announcing Wasserman's departure and committing to a sale, they are trying to get ahead of the story, contain the damage, and provide a path forward for employees and clients. They are prioritizing the survival of the 1,200 jobs and the service to 1,500 athletes. This is a brutal but necessary corporate amputation to save the patient. On the other side, critics argue this is a failure of private equity due diligence. How could a firm like Providence, which conducts deep background checks on its investments, not have uncovered this potential landmine? Was the relationship with Maxwell known in certain circles, but ignored because of Wasserman's power and profitability? This raises serious questions about the Know Your Customer and ESG, environmental, social, and governance, standards that large funds now tout. If this connection was missed, what else might be? This perspective sees the sale not as a savvy rescue, but as a panicked response to a preventable disaster. There's a third, more cynical view that this was always part of the plan. Some speculate that Wasserman, having built the company and taken the private equity money, was already on a path toward an exit. The Epstein files revelation simply accelerated the timeline and changed the narrative from a triumphant founder's sale to a scandal-driven departure. In this reading, Providence's full commitment is simply about managing the process to maximize the remaining value, not about loyalty to the founder or his legacy. For the employees and agents at Wasserman, the next 6 to 12 months will be a period of extreme uncertainty. The best agents, those with the strongest client relationships, are already being courted by rival firms like CAA, WME, and Excel Sports Management. A mass exodus of top producers could hollow out the company before a sale is even completed. Providence's statement is aimed directly at them. Stay calm, serve your clients, and trust that we will find a stable new home for this business. But in the cutthroat world of talent representation, trust is a fragile commodity. What does this mean for the wider industry and for observers in Kenya? First, it's a stark lesson in personal brand risk. In an era where digital footprints and past associations are forever, the line between personal life and professional empire can vanish in an instant. For Kenya's own growing cohort of sports agents, entertainment managers, and business founders, the message is clear: your reputation is your most valuable asset, and it must be guarded with extreme diligence. Second, it highlights the double-edged sword of private equity. The $2.3 billion investment in 2021 provided capital for growth and global expansion. But when crisis hit, the priorities of the financial owners, damage control and asset preservation, took immediate precedence over any sense of legacy or loyalty to the founder. Kenya's sports industry is on the rise. We have athletes signing global endorsement deals, footballers moving to European leagues, and a burgeoning entertainment scene. The agencies that represent them are growing. Could a similar scandal affect a Kenyan firm? The principles are the same. Let's consider a hypothetical scenario. Imagine a leading Nairobi-based sports agency. It represents 50 top-tier athletes, has annual revenue of 500 million shillings, and employs 40 people. Its founder is a charismatic, well-connected figure. If a major reputational crisis hit that founder, the entire agency, the livelihoods of 40 employees and the careers of 50 athletes, could be jeopardized overnight. The Wasserman case is a global blueprint for that kind of collapse. The timeline of this crisis is breathtakingly fast. The sequence of events began on Friday, February 13th, with the internal announcement and subsequent public news break. By Saturday, February 14th, rival agencies had begun outreach to Wasserman agents and clients. On Monday, February 16th, today, Providence issued its fully committed statement, and the formal sale process is believed to have begun. The entire landscape shifted in 72 hours. The goal now is to complete a sale within the next 6 to 9 months to prevent a total erosion of value. In conclusion, the story of Providence AQT and the Wasserman Agency is a multifaceted drama about money, power, reputation, and survival. At its heart is a 50-year-old relationship from 2003 that has triggered a $3.3 billion corporate earthquake. Providence's commitment will be tested not by words, but by the price they ultimately accept for the agency and their ability to hold the business together during the transition. For Casey Wasserman, it's the end of an era defined by his family name. For the 1,200 employees, it's a nervous wait for a new owner. And for the global business community, it's another cautionary tale about the fragility of reputation in the digital age. As Kenya continues to build its own global brands in sports and entertainment, the lessons from Lowe's Angels are worth studying. Due diligence matters. Governance matters. And sometimes, the past has a very long and very damaging reach. This has been a Kenya News Update Today deep dive. I'm your host. Subscribe to Kenya News Update Today for more in-depth analysis of the stories shaping our world and our nation. Thank you for watching.